Good afternoon. My name's Sid Meyer, and I'm the chairman of Asialink, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us for this very important lunch today. Asialink is proud to join with Grameen Australia to present this lunch in honour of Professor Muhammad Yunus. Professor Yunus is known to many of us, and probably all of us in this room, as the father of microfinance, and a man whose work is benefiting impoverished people around the world. Professor Yunus will be introduced shortly by Peter. I'd like to especially recognise some distinguished guests who are with us today. The Consul General of the Philippines, Her Excellency Anne Lewis. Anne, thank you for joining us. Consul General from India, Sunjay Sudhir, thank you for joining us. Many members of the Grameen board, thank you all for joining us today. And from the Asialink board, Kee Wong, our Deputy Chairman, Lindley Edwards, CEO Jenny McGregor, and thank you, Lindley, particularly, because I know you're on both boards, and your support for this particular initiative with our joint organisations is much appreciated. I'd like to acknowledge the support of our major corporate sponsors today. Many of them, you'll see the signs around the room, but the Macquarie Group Foundation, Greenhill & Co., AMP, Deloitte Touche Tohmatsu, and GBST. And lastly, I'd particularly like to recognise the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade for their support for this initiative, and also their ongoing support for Asialink in New South Wales. Asialink has been working for now almost 25 years to build Australia's Asia capability, the understanding of Asia, and to establish long-term relationships between Asia and Australia. Asialink is a not-for-profit organisation that works with business, government, academia, philanthropic and cultural partners to provide relevant forums, international collaborations, leadership training, education and cultural exchange programs throughout Australia and in Asia. Our business capability arm, Asialink Business, works with the assistance of the Commonwealth Department of Industry and the Australian business and philanthropic communities to equip Australia's workforce to engage successfully in the countries of Asia. Asialink Business is, one could say, a one-stop shop for information, training, research and advocacy to help Australian business set up and be successful in Asia. We're honoured today to have Professor Yunus with us to discuss his work, particularly his innovative approach to doing business in Asia. It's now my great pleasure to hand over to Peter Hunt, Chairman of Grameen Australia and Chairman of Greenhill Australia. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. On behalf of Grameen Australia, I'd like to join with Sid Meyer and Asialink in welcoming you all here today to what I think is going to be, I know is going to be a really thought-provoking lunch. Grameen Australia is an Australian not-for-profit organisation that takes the concept of social business, which has been driven by Professor Yunus, into Asia to alleviate poverty amongst some of the world's most poor people. We draw our inspiration from the vision and the work of Professor Yunus, the belief that we really can focus on moving into a world without poverty, and we really can use business principles, the things that we all do in our daily lives, to solve entrenched social problems. We focus on using social business to empower poor people to climb out of poverty. As with all businesses, at the core of social business, as you'll hear from Professor Yunus, is financial sustainability. That means, in contrast to most of the NGO sector, every project that we do in Asia, every project is designed to be financially sustainable in its own right. We work in the Philippines, Cambodia and Bangladesh in very poor communities, particularly in urbanised environments, and pictures of our social businesses and environments were on the screens as you came into this lunch. We're very much a secular organisation. We work with Islamic groups, Christian groups, other faith groups, and we work with groups that have no religious following. We believe that being secular gives us a great advantage in terms of getting comfort and confidence from every person that we work with in these poor communities. In the Philippines, we run a social business hub in the Manila slums, in a very entrepreneurial way. We use microfinance to lend what for most of us would be small amounts of money to very poor people living in the slums, normally women, so they can start and develop their own businesses. And by doing so, create wealth for their families as a path to escape from poverty. We combine that, and very importantly, we combine that with business training, business mentoring, and advice on marketing strategies. We also promote the establishment of social businesses in their own right in the Manila slums, because not every poor person is going to be an entrepreneur and capable of starting their own business. So we promote social businesses which can employ very poor people in the slums so they can get decent incomes. Our Manila project, as with all of our projects, is designed to be financially self-sustainable, with interest and fees generated covering the costs of running the operation. Our partners in the Philippines include PricewaterhouseCoopers, or PwC, who help us with business mentoring and training, the University of Makati in central Manila, which helps us train our centre leaders. These are all people who do it on a voluntary basis, who live and have been brought up in the Manila slums. And a fascinating organisation called BPI Globe Banco, which is a virtual bank in the Philippines and is helping us with mobile technologies and ATM platforms. In Bangladesh, we run a livestock and chicken training facility, which is also a social business in its own right. What we do is we offer employment to people who were previously scavengers on the local town dump site. Now, if you think what that means, every morning they'd go onto this dump site, this enormous town dump site, they'd ferret around in the rubbish in the most disgusting conditions, in hot, sultry, wet weather, and they'd find small items of value, a PET bottle, a can, a bit of metal, which they could monetize. On average, these people earn about 70% of the food poverty line in Cambodia. That's the amount of money you need to buy the food for basic human health. What we do with these people is we offer them secure employment with good working conditions, and importantly, we train them to have the capacity to run their own chicken businesses in their own right. And how do we make money? We sell chickens, and the sales proceeds from the chickens goes to funding the training operations to make the organisation financially self-sufficient in its own right. In Bangladesh, we're working with Professor Yunus and the Yunus Centre and a Japanese foundation to start an auto mechanics social business. Again, the concept there is to take young people from very poor backgrounds, train them to become auto mechanics so they can have a career as auto mechanics or start their own auto mechanic businesses in the future. And the aim there is to cover the costs of the training facility from revenue generated from servicing cars and repairing cars. So again, it's the ingenuity of business designing something for social benefit which actually covers its costs rather than become a constant drain on future donors. In Australia, we're working with one of our directors, Masood Isa, who worked with Professor Yunus for many years in Bangladesh, on whether it's feasible to start a microfinance organisation in Australia as a self-sufficient organisation, as a social business. And some of you may say, well, microfinance is something for developing countries, not developed countries. Look at America, where Grameen started Grameen America, and you've got a microfinance organisation in a developed country, self-sustainable, working to help poor people and empower poor people in that country. Point I want to make here, and really following the example of Professor Yunus, is that everything we do is designed to be self-sufficient, financially self-sufficient and capable of being able to be run without ongoing donor support. The other thing we're focused very much on is scale. In other words, do pilot projects. When the model's proved up and works, then take it to scale so that we can affect the lives of as many poor people as possible. Could I ask the Grameen Australia people in the room today just to stand up so we all know where you are? Okay, around the room we've got Nigel Ampelor, Lindley Edwards, Paul Munane, Duncan Power, Michelle Sawyer, Prometheus Siddiqui, Ian Watson and Jeremy Wright. On your tables you'll find materials about Grameen Australia. If you like what you see, if you like this concept of bringing business into what has traditionally been the not-for-profit world, please approach any of the Grameen people in the room today, or alternatively contact us on the numbers provided in the materials on your table. And if you're feeling particularly warm and generous towards what we're doing, and you like what you're seeing, by all means fill out those donation forms and leave them on the tables, and we'll contact you afterwards.
My name's Duncan Power. I'm the Executive Director at Grameen Australia. Now, some of you might wonder what I'm doing holding a rag when I'm introducing Professor Yunus. But this is no ordinary rag. It's a special rag. It's a social business rag. And it has lots and lots of uses. And those of you who have been to the Philippines will know exactly what they are. They're on every street corner being sold. Personally, I make sure my glasses are clean with them. But this is done with joy. One of the Professor Yunus's 7 principles is do it with joy. And these rags have not only been done with joy, they're actually been done to make somebody sustainable in their own life. Normally these rags sell at about 75 cents for a bunch of 30. What we've come in and done and created a social business, a non-dividend company, to increase the value of these rags to the people who are making them and the very worst of the informal settlements. So we get $1.50 for 30 instead of 75 cents. And that small difference is actually a big difference for people who are earning an income. And all we've done is cut out the middle person. And at the same time, we can buy in bulk because there's some capital in the business, which if they were working on their own as very small-scale entrepreneurs, they wouldn't have had the ability to do. So we want to add value. And Professor Yunus has inspired us and inspired me as a person to think beyond the box. And I'm sure he's going to inspire us this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. I must also add my acknowledgement and pay respect of the traditional owners of this land on which we're meeting. Professor Yunus was the 1998 Sydney Peace Prize winner, the inaugural Peace Prize. So, Professor Yunus, you've been coming to Sydney for a long time, and we welcome you again. He's 2006 Nobel Peace Prize winner, together with Grameen Bank. He also received the United States Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2009, and that was followed up by the leaders in the US House and Senate bestowing the Congressional Gold Medal Award. In 2008, he was rated #2 in Foreign Policy's magazine list of top 100 global thinkers. He's a true entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur who will inspire us all today. He's someone, I believe, who will inspire us into action to, in our own way, not only do business well, but do business well to help the poor, to make a difference, to allow people to step up to this next rung, to allow them to control their own lives. Professor Yunus, please come up to the stage and inspire us.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a big job Duncan gives to me. But I'm delighted to be back in Sydney. As Duncan was mentioning, I have come here many times, made many friends. It's good to come back. And the first responsibility of coming back is to update what's going on, what's happening with us and what's happening here. So that's what I was doing. And I was surprised that Grameen Foundation and Asialink could organize such a huge lunch. It's, I didn't expect when they say we'll have a lunch, I thought we'd talk about 20 people. So I got lost. So I'm very happy that I get an opportunity to meet all of you and kind of give you the It's okay. Taken care of. Kind of highlights of the things that we do. One, on the microcredit side, what we have been doing through Grameen Bank and so on. Many people are familiar with that. But to give you kind of updates on that. Today, Grameen Bank has 8.5 million borrowers. As usual, most of them are women. 97% of them are women. And they own the bank. And they are on the board. Bank makes profit as usual. And the profit goes back to the borrowers as their dividend. So it's completely owned by the borrowers. The interesting thing that we started very small in one village. Now it grew nationwide. Every single village in Bangladesh has Grameen Bank services available. We have over 2,600 branches with over 25,000 staff. As you recall, the basic principle of microcredit, that's as we defined at the early stage, at the very beginning, that people should not come to the bank. Bank should go to people. When you are small, it's easy because you are only dealing with few people. You go there and meet them. When you are nationwide with 8.5 million borrowers spread in 80,000 villages, it's difficult. But that's exactly the way we do the work. Grameen work is done in a weekly cycle. Everything has to happen within a week. So our 25,000 staff go around in all the villages of Bangladesh, meet all the 8.5 million borrowers, do the business at their doorstep, and carry the money cash with them with long distances, walking or bicycling or motorcycling, whatever convenient method of transportation they have. One surprising thing, they carry lots of money every day when you collect all the repayments that you borrowers have done. It's a 30,000, 40,000 taka issue would be an average, which is almost like carrying $30,000, $40,000 in the context of Bangladesh economy and its attractiveness. But it gets done millions of times. Nobody goes and aim a pistol or aim a knife, give me the money, and snatch the money and disappear. So that says something about the people, about the confidence of the staff, and the support that it enjoys throughout the country. One of the basic things we did right from the beginning in Grameen Bank to make sure every person who joins Grameen Bank opens a bank account, a savings bank account. We never failed in that. So it's become a part of the habit of all borrowers to save whatever little money she can save every week. It's a very habit forming. Everybody does it in an automatic. It does all the way. But that creates an enormous amount of pleasure from the borrowers that they build up their own savings account. And they look at the money, it's growing. But we never realized what will lead that to. This year is a very significant year for us, suddenly realizing that. So that's why I wanted to share this. We lend out over $1.5 billion right now, all internally generated. Grameen Bank money doesn't come from outside, from any source, either international source or a local source, government, non-government, banks, nothing. It doesn't borrow money, it doesn't take grants, nothing. So all the money that we lend out is generated inside by taking deposits. And that we have been doing. That was nothing exciting for us. We always had money. Sometimes we had problem, we had too much money. And we had to quickly find out how to make use of the money that we already generated. But shortage of money was never a point in our history. This year, what happened? The total savings of the borrowers have exceeded the total loans they have taken from Grameen Bank. So while they take $1.5 billion as loans, they have nearly $2 billion in their savings account. So it creates a new kind of relationship. Papers in the bank still says, so we have so many borrowers and so many, they use repeatedly the word borrowers as a custom. And I keep reminding them, are you sure they are your borrowers? I thought they are your lenders. You are the borrower. Because net borrowing is on you. They have more money in you than they borrowed from you. See, transformation of the relationship. It's an amazing thing that what power of little savings can do. They feel very comfortable. Poor people having bank account and such a huge amount of money waiting for them. And bank introduced pension fund. Poor people never talk about pension, and they worry about their old age. So we introduced pension fund. It's a very simple concept. You open a new account, pension fund account, you put money into that account, whatever money you want to put every week, same amount you put regularly for 10 years. Whatever money you put in that account in 10 years, bank will match you with equal amount. It's a very exciting thing for them. Everybody has pension fund account, multiple pension fund accounts, because they don't want to remain helpless when they are old, because they worry that who will feed me when physically I cannot function anymore. And the idea is that once you come to that stage, you take this money and put it in a separate account in Grameen Bank, which generates your monthly income. And they calculate how much monthly income they have. So that's why they create multiple accounts, so that in total they become big amounts, so that I have a decent monthly income for the rest of my life. I don't have to worry about anything. So this is one highlight. Another highlight is we wanted to make sure all the children of Grameen Bank go to school. This is part of Grameen Bank ever since we started. We made sure every child goes to school. And it happened. 100% of the children in school, we encouraged them to stay in school. Then we encouraged them to go to higher education. And we give them education loan to continue with higher education. So we have thousands and thousands of young people from the second generation of these families becoming professional people, doctors, engineers, other professional people. Then problem began. That problem bugged us for a long time. They kept complaining there's no job in the country. What good is your education? That you send us to colleges, send us to universities? No job. It's extremely difficult to find a job in Bangladesh for poor families. Well-off families, they kind of manipulate themselves to find jobs. They have big guys making phone calls or give bribes, get a job. Bribing people for a job is a very common practice in Bangladesh. But for them, it's not possible. So I tried to change that. In the beginning, I was trying to see how I can respond to that. So my response came in a slightly different way. I accused them. I accused them by saying, who told you that you have to have a job? They get very puzzled, because everybody says we have to have a job. Now he says, who told you to have a job? Was it something that your teachers told you in the class that you have to have a job? Is it something you read in your textbook that you have to have a job? I said, whoever said it, it's a wrong thing. That's a very old-fashioned idea. You young generation of a new era. Why should you lend yourself to old ideas? You believe and you repeat to yourself to make sure you remember that and repeat it every morning. Tell to yourself, I'm not a job seeker, I'm a job giver. Creating job is the mission of my life. Of course, in the beginning, they got very nervous about it. I don't have a job, he's making joke. That I want to create a job or many jobs. So I tried to explain to them. I said, look, you are very privileged young people. Your mother owns a bank. Not every... Money is not your problem. Your mother's bank has unlimited money. All you have to do is come up with ideas. And then create job for others. If you are puzzled about it, just look at your mother. 20 years back, 25 years back, she joined Grameen Bank. And he stayed with it all these 25 years. And she moved from $30 to now whatever, $15,000, $20,000 she borrows from Grameen Bank today. It's a very inspiring story. Ask her how she did it. Your illiterate mother took a decision to change her life with $30. It was a big, big decision for her. She was shaking like this when she first made that decision and took that money. And she went to create herself something she runs by herself. Whether she raise a chicken, she raise a cow, she raise a vegetable, doesn't matter. Because she didn't go for writing application for jobs. She took care of herself. What good is your education if you're not better than your illiterate mother? Her capacity was limited because she couldn't read, she could not write. Now you're graduates, you have degrees, and you're engineers, you're doctors, you're God knows how many other things you have. So why are you worrying about jobs? So this is our repeated theme. Now what we have done, we created a social business fund. And now publicize everywhere in the Grameen Bank system, come up with business ideas. And if you can convince the people in front of you, you make a presentation what business you are doing, how you'll do it, how much money you'll be making so that you can pay back the money, and we'll invest in your business. So the social business fund invest in all these businesses. 100%, 90%, 95%, whatever money they need of the total money that's needed. So that they can start a business. Since we are a social business, all you have to do, return the money that we gave you as your equity. We are a shareholder in your company. 99% of the share is with us, but you are the CEO of the company. You run it. You run it and earn enough to return the money that we gave you, exactly the same amount. And we hand over all the shares to you because we are a non-dividend company. We are not interested in your money. We are interested in your solving your problem, put you into the trajectory of being an entrepreneur. And that's our pleasure. Now, hundreds and hundreds of young people every week is coming, and we are making these decisions. We call them new entrepreneurs. In Bangla, we call them Nobin Uddokta, new entrepreneurs. They take a lot of pride, come from the villages, stand in front of the elite of the city, making presentation about the little business they're going to start in the village. An amazing way they look at it and defend that everything they're saying, and we feel excited to make this investment. What we are trying to do, transform unemployment into entrepreneurship. I said our whole system is designed in a faulty way. We gave as if in our education system as if the whole world is created for us to serve under somebody, take a job. We never tell in our schools, in our education system, that you are an entrepreneur. And I have been talking about this ever since we started Grameen Bank 38 years back. All human beings are entrepreneurs, no exception. Simply, society never allowed us to express our entrepreneurship. Being a human being, that's what we are. It's in our DNA. But we squeeze that entrepreneurship into taking a role of a tiny little job in a big company. And ever since, we discarded all our creative power, surrendered all our creative power, and compromised our life with that little role that we have to play. I said, don't ever compromise that. You are a big human being. Go for it. Bring out your creative power and address all the things that you see around yourself. And I was surprised when I was invited to speak about it, explain to this in a Swedish group of people who are interested in solving their youth unemployment. There's a huge youth unemployment in Europe right now. Like in Italy, they have 40% youth unemployment. In Spain, they have 48% youth unemployment. In many countries, they are talking about lost generation, because this generation which is going through will never see any job. They are dependent on state charity. I say, what a shame. Creative human beings are wasted away for no fault of their own. I said, that's where our system goes wrong. System is punishing human beings for no fault of their own. Creative young people who could contribute so much for no fault of their own, they are tied with an invisible chain saying that, no, you cannot work. You have no right to work. You are unemployed. And my question is, should the system punish human being? Or human being punish the system? Who are you to tell me that I cannot work? It's all possible. System is doing that. It's possible because we forgot that we were entrepreneurs. We have no room for entrepreneurs. Only entrepreneurs we know is the one who does the IPOs. We don't recognize anybody else. Every single human being, the homeless guy on the street, the poorest person in the remote village, has as much creative power, as much unlimited potential as any human being on this planet. Simply, system didn't work for them. So that's where comes the question of social business. Because the world has been given only one choice in business: business to make money. There is no other choice. Maximization profit is the mission of business. I said, I feel very uncomfortable in that kind of situation when people don't have options. People are put into kind of a slot. I feel uncomfortable, I said, because human beings are not money-making robots. They're much bigger entity. But somehow our theory has squeezed us into a very little role. The role is make money. And they call it is out of self-interest or selfish interest. So that encourages us to become selfish. So I said, human beings are not about selfishness alone. Selfishness is a very important part of our life. But that's not the only part of our life. There's another very strong part of our life, that's the selflessness. In a selfish business, everything is for me, nothing for others. So we create another kind of business where it is based on selflessness. In a selfless business, everything for others, nothing for me. But I create it because I enjoy it. They tell me that if you take away the profit motive from business, the whole economy will collapse. Because profit is the only incentive which drives the economy. I shake my hand, I said, no. I said, I completely agree with you. profit is an important incentive, but not only incentive. That's where we depart. The moment you accept that there are other incentives in the world, there are other incentives in life, then you have option for other incentives. Say making money is a happiness. I agree completely. That's why we chase money. Making money is a happiness, but making the world happy is a super happiness. So it's a question of choice. Which happiness you want to choose? I said, I'm not saying that you have to accept it the way I said it. I said, all I'm saying, I'm inviting you to taste it, find out whether it's true. And we created a lot of this social business. I give examples of them. I said, the fact that we don't have another kind of business, if you want to be helpful to other people, they always advise you to become a philanthropist. Why don't you go become philanthropist, help other people? I said, I admire philanthropy. That's a great thing. World has benefited so much from the philanthropy. Otherwise, world would be a terrible place. It's already a terrible place, but it will be worse terrible place if philanthropy didn't exist. At least they are looking into problems created by others to solve that problem. I said, no, I want to do something within the business world, not in a philanthropy world. I said, I see a limitation of philanthropy. The limitation is philanthropy money goes and does a wonderful work, but the money doesn't come back. So money has only one time use. You cannot do it second time. If you want to do the same thing again, you have a fundraising dinner to do the same thing again. And every year you do that, and raising money is a difficult task. Unfortunately, you have to go do it because that's the way only good things can be done, because there's no other option. If we can convert this whole idea, whatever we're doing, into a social business format, in a sustainable format, then social business money goes out, does the same work that the philanthropy was trying to do, but this time money comes back. And you can reuse it again and again, unlimited times. It becomes very powerful. In the process, you create a machine, you create an institution which runs by itself, self-fulfilling business. So there, you are already giving away your money. So this is not a new thing. People say, where is this money coming from in your social business? I say, this is something new, surprising, shocking for you. People give away money. People are crazy. I'm not saying that you give away. I'm saying you invest, you get your money back. And you can reuse it again and again. I tell this to the foundations. I tell this to the CSR people. I tell this to high net worth people. So think about it before you give away. You can do it more powerfully, and it will continue because it has an institution, it will improve, and you can solve the problem permanently. So that is the power that we are talking about. The one that we have done in Bangladesh, several, I just pick one or two. Bangladesh doesn't have much of electricity. You're familiar with that kind of situation in many countries. 70% of the people of Bangladesh have no electricity. So way back, we felt sorry for this situation when we go to the villages because of microcredit. It's all dark after sun goes down. Tiny little kerosene lamps comes up, giving a little bit of light. Not good for education, not good for any household activity, any productive activity. So we thought, since I read all the time about the solar energy, renewable energy, what about that? Then I came about the idea, why don't we bring solar energy in Bangladesh? Everybody say, come on, this is not Europe. They can afford it, you can't afford it. I said, let me make it affordable. So I created a small company to sell solar home system. When we brought it to the villages, people said, oh, no, this is too expensive. We don't know whether it's going to work. Who ever heard that sun will give you electricity? We are waiting for the wares to come from the city, which will never come. So it was difficult to sell them, but we never gave up. We started selling 3 solar home systems per month. We were excited. Finally, we sold 3. Then we sold 5 solar home systems. We were excited. It's increasing. Then 10, then 20, then 50. 17 years later, today, we sell more than 1,000 solar home systems per day. We have set up right now 1.5 million homes with solar energy in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has a total of 20 million families. And out of this, 1.5 million already in the rural areas have solar energy-based electricity. It took us 17 years to come there. And I asked my colleagues, how long will it take to get to the next 1.5 million? They tell us less than 3 years. Because it's all now everywhere, everybody knows, everybody's lining up to have a solar energy. And it makes sense. The point I'm making, I did not create this company to make money for myself. My whole intention was to solve the problem of electricity. And kind of I was taking pleasure before the fossil fuel-based electricity comes, I bring the green energy. You cannot skip that. So now, we have the solar energy, and along with now we have the biodigesters, because now everybody is focusing what else you can do. It's possible. So other companies are coming up to do that. So the reason we did that to solve a problem, and it's focused on that. Not making money, but it's a sustainable. It makes money, money goes back to it. We can take back the initial investment, which we didn't. We plowed it back to make it bigger and bigger. So it became bigger and bigger. So that is the power of social business. Let me give another example from in Bangladesh. We created an eye care hospital. I skip all the background because people have a lot of cataract problem. And they accept cataract problems as if this is part of being old. If you go old, you see less. That's how they grow up. But we say you don't have to do that. You can have a very sharp eyesight even after you grow old. But there is no facility for that except on the capital city, Dhaka. So everybody has to come to Dhaka for that. It's too expensive. You bring your whole family when you go to medical treatment to Dhaka. It becomes extra expensive. So we created a first eye care hospital in the village, capable of 10,000 cataract operations per year as a social business. So we came to the break-even point in 4 years. We were very excited. We made it happen. It's really, it can work. Because people doubted whether you can really sustainable hospital you can build in a remote area. Then we created the second hospital in another part of the country, remote area. It came to break-even point in 3 years. Then we created the third hospital. Now we are constructing the fourth hospital in another part of the country. With the social business principle, after you come to the break-even point, you have to now start paying back the money that it's invested in you. Now that money has started coming back. Now all these 3 who will be returning the money will have enough money to invest in the 5th hospital, and all the 5 hospitals return their money will have the money to have the 6th hospital, 7th hospital. So it's an expanding system. With the same money that you invested, now it expands itself. Every hospital maintains its own thing. It gives you increment, salaries, and all the things that they do, everything. So that's another example of it. So now that idea is catching up in other countries. They are inviting us to start social business here, social business there. So we created a lot of social businesses in many different countries. I'll not give all those details. But one interesting small social business in Albania. We challenge people to come up with business ideas, social business ideas. Then we choose from them and invest by creating a social business fund. This young man, he came up with the idea that I'll start a marketing company. So we sat down, what is your marketing company? He said, I went around in Albania, in the mountain areas of Albania. I see the women in the Albania, they produce beautiful jams and jellies and beautiful honey. Because the mountain area, they have all the facility for that. But when they make the honey, they put it in the throwaway water bottle because they have no other container. They collect all these throwaway water bottle, put the honey, and put it in the market. For the jam and jelly, they pick up the throwaway cosmetic containers. So you still have the same levels on the cosmetic container. You put the jam and jelly. So get very little out of that because nobody gets excited about seeing your jam coming in your cosmetic container. So he says, I'm going to create a marketing company as a social business. What I'll do, I will supply them standardized containers, a standardized bottle for honey, container for jams and jelly, and give them good level, good brand name. Everybody will have the same brand name, and I'll maintain the quality. And then I'll take this product to the big cities, grocery stores, hotels, and so on. I'll maintain that European quality. And I'll have an opportunity to fetch better price and bring this money to the producers. They're doing the same thing, but their income will jump up. I thought it's a beautiful idea. And he wants to do it as a social business, solve the problem of people who does a good work but doesn't get the money. Probably other people are buying this and putting it in nice bottles, nice containers, and selling it somewhere else, but they don't get the money. Middlemen get the money. The total project cost was $25,000, 25,000 euros, sorry. So we're thinking how to give them the 25,000 euro. So in the meantime, one idea came, Kiva. I know some of you have heard about Kiva. They put it on the internet for microfinance to let people invest $20, $30, $50 to give a loan to microfinance borrowers. Became very well known. They are good friends. We told them, would you like to raise $25,000 through your internet facility? They got excited about it. They came up with ideas and set it up, advertised it in their network, and launched it. In less than 24 hours, all these 25,000 euro came. Not knowing who are these people. All you did, you explained what the project is and how much money you need, and that's all. So this started a new dimension in financing social business. We call it crowdfunding. Unknown people participating, investing in that. So they get very excited. They said, can you give us a bigger project so that we see how far it can go? So we gave them a $65,000 project. It took 4 days to raise $65,000. They got very excited. Still bigger. Let's see how it takes. So last one we gave was $125,000. It took 3 days. Raised $125,000. The reason I'm mentioning this, to say people are not interested, is now debunked. People are interested. Simply, we never gave them an opportunity to do that, to unleash their selfless part of it. So that's what the strength of the social business, and I'm very happy that you are interested to hear about it, and I hope you'll think about whatever business you are in to create a parallel social business. Very simple. I give you an idea what kind of social business you can run yourself. Whatever big business you have, create a small business to take 5 welfare people out of welfare. It's not a big task. You create a business where there'll be job opportunities for these 5 people, decent income, and you can figure out what kind of business it would be. And it will be, as you're designing it, I'm sure it will be a successful business, and you'll get your money back. But these 5 people will be out of the welfare. And if you can create this one instance, you will inspire many people. And many people say, hey, I would like to do 10 for them. And what you do in Australia, it will excite everybody in Europe. And we can do the same thing. We have lots of people on welfare. The problem of welfare is not just giving the money from the budget. The problem is that family is ruined because their entrepreneurial capacity is erased. They became dependent people. And worst part of it, they transfer it to the second generation. I have personally met people in 5th generation unemployment, 4th generation unemployment in Europe. And I feel very sad that we in order to help people, destroyed people, their capacity to become independent human beings. The money that you give out in welfare financing, a small part of it creates entrepreneurial activity for many people, and the money will come back. So this is the way to unleash, open the whole idea of what we have been doing in the past, challenge it, do it quietly. It's not a revolutionary idea. If you take 5 people out of welfare, nobody will notice, but you'll know you have done something for the whole world. It changed the whole world. The thinking about people remaining unemployed, solution is not just give state charity. Solution can be other things. State charity is a very important thing. I'm not questioning that. I'm saying state charity should have expiry date. It should not go on for generations. We must find a way, we must organize ourselves as a society to help people to become fully productive human being as he is. You're not imposing it. Just naturally, he's a very productive, creative human being. To allow that person to become such an, then we create a society which is very different than we have today. That's our challenge. That's our excitement. The things that we can do together. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yunus, and it's quite incredible. We were promised that we would be inspired, and we've all been inspired. There's a few key things that actually have come out of this, and I'd like to say thank you. And that is there's a concept that the Greeks had that Plato was very big on, which is the concept of remembering and unforgetting. And this today, we've just heard about what it is to unforget that we're human beings, and to unforget and remember that we can make a difference, and small steps create enormous impact. The other thing that I think is so important in what you're saying is how when you change a narrative structure, you can change everything. And the narrative of going from to be a job giver rather than a job seeker, to be a lender rather than a borrower. We all want to go to all the banks around the table and say, we're lending, we're not your borrower. To actually think about things differently, and to actually look at the footsteps of your mother was able to do these things, so you've got a lot more advantages. What can you do? And then the other thing is these small steps. And if I had to say, for Grameen has inspired, and your work has inspired all of us, that small steps in the aggregate make a difference, even if they take 17 years to be overnight success stories. It's the movement towards the step. So we're privileged to have Professor Yunus here for a little bit longer, and to take questions. And there's some great people in the audience, and people already putting their hands up. And I'd also like to, so we'll have some microphones and open it up. But we also have some university students, and we also have some high school students here. So we have all generations as well as business people. And I'm going to start with one question from one of our university students, Istak Ahmed. And he or she has said, in times like this, how do we go about maintaining and expanding social business programs when they're in places where there's increasing levels of insurgency or destabilisation? So would you like to take that as your first question?
Oh, there is no conflict with the social business and other things that happen in the society. Society is never in a kind of complete, peaceful, turmoil-free state. It's always going through some little bit and sometimes become big. But within that, you start your social business. And something that you see in front of you, the problem, you want to address it, whether it's an environment issue, whether it's a poverty issue, whether it's a health issue. Health is a major area of social business. You can transform the entire health system by introducing health, social business in health. People who are absolutely out of the scope of the health services can be immediately brought into health services in a very affordable way, in a very decent way, and so on. So you can make the start, and your start is so small, you don't have to worry about what big things are happening. You just find your little corner and do it. So I don't see any problem in that.
Thank you. And we've got a question over here. And can you say your name when you introduce yourself? Thank you.
Derek White of the Rotary Club of Sydney Cove. Thank you for an enthralling presentation, Professor. I suspect you may have done it once or twice before. My question is that I see the Business or Social Business Fund as a sort of a venture capital fund, and they have a reputation of only funding a very small proportion of the applicants that they get to see them. So what sort of proportion are you actually providing funds to of the people who come to apply?
Almost nobody is rejected because our job is to help them to become entrepreneurs. So in the first round, he may have some not clear thinking of the income flow or expenses and so on. So we said, okay, go back and do it within a week, not months. And come back, correct this, and then we are with you. And it's a joint venture. Each one of them is a joint venture. So it's not something that we completely 100% depending on the applicant. So it's a business idea for us too. And we get excited. And we take this joint venture very seriously. It's not just, okay, you are a joint venture, but we are a sleeping partner. We are not a sleeping partner. We are a very active partner. We want to help connect them for the right thing and build a community of these new entrepreneurs. That's very important, so that they can help each other. And we have a very quick monitoring system. Every one of them who has received the investment money and start the business, they have to make daily reports to a central server. 5 basic information: your expenses today, your revenue today, your amount that you have deposited in your bank account today, money that you withdrawn today. 5 basic information by text messages. And that text messages goes into the server, and then people who are investing in it, they have clear bar diagrams, graphs, what happened to the past, whether they're going above the past month's average or the total average, whether below. So you get all the analysis coming out. Nobody has to calculate these things anymore. Software does it for you. So you have a dashboard, you know what's happening with them. So this is one way we keep track. If something we want to check with them, we just pick up the phone. Everybody has a telephone in Bangladesh, luckily. So you pick up the phone, talk to him. He said, no, don't worry. This is just something that happened last month. We had this problem here in this city. So this is what happened in this village. We're taking care of it. Okay, that's all right. So this is it's a joint venture. Always remember that.
Thank you. I'm going to ask another university question. Would a cooperative structure produce the same economic benefits and increase social benefits in social business?
There are many ways of doing things. So cooperative is a great idea. It's been doing wonderful work all over the world. So the introduction of social business doesn't replace everything else. It's an additional thing. The way I try to explain, there's a toolbox for changing our life, changing our economy. All the tools that we have accumulated over the years is here. None of the tool is taken away. Simply we're adding one more tool in the box. In case you think this will work better in a particular situation, feel free to use it. So nobody needs to be feel threatened, okay, this guy comes and puts his social business, now I am out of business. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you retain all the tools in your box, but add this new one, see if this one is helpful.
Thank you. Just over here. Question? Yeah, it was, yes. Sorry, I don't know your name.
Okay.
Professor Yunus,
Yeah.
my name is Clay O'Brien. I'm with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade as part of the Overseas Aid Program. Thank you for your advice on social businesses. I mean, Grameen has led the way really in this innovative area. I wanted also to ask a related question though, and perhaps get your advice on private sector engagement. The Australian Aid Program is increasingly working with the private sector in its aid programs around the world. The Grameen Australia has a joint venture with a bank and a telco company in the Philippines. So I was wondering whether you could give us your insights as to what are the key things to look for in terms of building a relationship with the private sector, so that there's both a win for the private sector and importantly a win as a social enterprise and a win for the poor.
Sure. Well, I'm glad you raised that question from the donor side, because one of my favorite recommendations to the donors, as you give the grant money to another country, would you consider keep 20%, 25% of the grant money, put it in a social business fund in that country. And then let it be used for social businesses in that country, in addressing unemployment issues, addressing health issues, education, whatever your priority area is. Ask people to come up with social business designs and invest in them so that this money now recirculate. If they're successful, hopefully they will be, then you're getting your money back. In the meantime, fresh money is coming next year. So that fund will keep on growing. In a grant, it goes out, it disappears. Next time, you start from zero again. So at least you will have something growing, and it becomes an attractive point for people with creative ideas to come. I have a chance. I go to that fund, convince them, and I can solve this problem. I'll show how to do that and make it clear that we will go up to this amount of project and we'll invest in that. So this is one. The second point I wanted to make, you mentioned private sector to feel comfortable with that. We have been doing social business in partnership with large companies. They came to us to start social business. Danone is a very well-known case. We have a Grameen Danone company in Bangladesh as a social business to solve the problem of malnutrition among the children. We produce a very special kind of yogurt. Small cup of yogurt, put all the micronutrients into it, vitamin, iron, zinc, iodine, everything which is missing in the children, and make it very cheap so that every child can afford it. And we sell it, cover our cost, now it is expanding. So this is a social business because Danone will never take a penny out of it because they want to make sure that objective is achieved and expansion can be continued. We have joint venture with BASF from Germany, chemical company, to produce mosquito nets against malaria. That's a social business. We sell mosquito net, not free distribution. We sell mosquito net, make it very cheap so that everybody can afford it. So that's another one. We have water company as a social business with Veolia, which is a French company. So we have a water treatment plant in the village, treat the water, polluted water, make it clean water, sell it in the village, and cover the cost. And whole idea is to be self-sufficient, make it so cheap that everybody in the village can afford it. That's the challenge. So that's another one. So we have large companies working. We have joint ventures with Uniqlo. We have joint ventures with Intel Corporation, bringing healthcare services through the technology. Technology they are designing, brand new technology designing for the purpose that we are asking them to design. Because technology doesn't move in the direction where they were solving poor people's problem. Technology runs in the direction where money can be made. So this may not be the same direction. So that's how we are trying to redirect technology in the direction of social business to make it happen. We have joint ventures with McCain, potato company. We have joint venture in Colombia to produce potato, to give opportunity to the coffee farmers who lost all their businesses because Colombian coffee disappeared from the market. Because nobody wants to buy Colombian coffee anymore because they're very happy buying Indonesian coffee and Vietnamese coffee.
Thank you. There's a question over there.
G'day, Professor Yunus.
Yeah.
Clary Castrician from the 40K Group. I want to thank you for your presentation today, but also on behalf of our whole organisation, you inspired us to move away from charity into the idea of social business 5 years ago, so thank you for that. My question is about the difference between social business and the new idea of shared value. Obviously, in your early writings, you became very strict about social businesses not being, well, being non-dividend, non-yield. The writings coming out of Harvard in the last few years have actually said we can go further, we should be able to actually profit out of these businesses. So I'm just interested in your thoughts and your assessment on the idea of shared value and whether the strictness of social business being non-dividend, non-yield can actually move towards profit making out of these.
Well, in a way, I touched upon that subject before when I said, here is a toolbox. I'm not taking away any of the tool. So if the shared value is also a tool here, if you like it, use it. I have no objection to that. All I'm saying, I'm adding one more tool. So it's up to you to decide which one works better for you. It's all the intention that you have in your mind. It's not something who said, this is better for you. I'm not prescribing it in that manner. I'm saying, this is what I do, this is what it means to me, and I put this tool in your box in case you need it. That's all.
Thank you. We've got a question here and then one over there.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Prometheus. I'd like to thank Professor Yunus for inspiring the entire world for the last 4 decades. Just sincere gratitudes. Just shying away now from the more specific businesses, another idea is addressing the more macroeconomic structures or municipalities or cities. We've seen that over the last couple of decades, which each economic downturn, many great cities have felt. Even for a country like Australia, there is an urban-rural disparity. There are many cities, many small towns which face problems. Now, what would social business do for that? If you could kindly reflect on that. Thank you.
One of the offshoot of the social business is, now some of the cities are declaring themselves as social business city. For the same reason that I just mentioned about the unemployment, mentioned about the welfare system. Because cities have to provide money to the unemployed people in the city. City has to provide money for the people who have no income, old people or whatever people. So they are trying to see whether we can take part of these programs which are grant-based can be converted into social business idea in a comfortable way, not forcing anybody to participate in that. So they want to make a big effort in converting this into social business idea so that the total burden of increasing unemployment, increasing helplessness in the society doesn't increase the whole budget of the city, which is imposed on the city dwellers to pay as a taxes and so on. So why don't we address this as a social business initiatives? First city which did that was Wiesbaden in Germany. This is a city very close to Frankfurt, known as the city of the rich people. But they have lots of immigrants, lots of problems with the old people and many other issues, unemployment and so on. So they take this initiative to declare it as a social business city and then follow it up, how to piece by piece, year by year, how to enhance the area of social business in the city. Inspired by that declaration by the mayor, one street in the city declared the city itself as a social business street, explaining that over time, in the next 3 years, they will make 10% of their business as a social business, addressing the problem of the city. So this is another kind of thing. Then other offshoot is declaring villages, social business villages, addressing the problems of the village in a social business way. Create a fund addressing the young people to come up with ideas, or any person, retired person, experienced person who came back to the village, now gets himself involved to make things happen, use their talent and creative power to solve the problem that you face within the boundary of your village. So this is a new series of activity. Now more cities are coming up. Next city is Pistoia in Italy, next to Florence, another big city. So they declared themselves as a social business city. In the next few months, another city will be getting ready to declare themselves as social business city, is Barcelona in Spain. So this is a series that gradually people are picking it up and paying attention to it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more question. That's what we have time for. So.
I'm Hemant Oza with University of New South Wales at Social Science and originally from Nepal. It's very inspiring talk. Thank you very much, Professor Yunus. I was just wondering, how you have been able to engage with the regulatory environment in the country, because in country like Bangladesh and Nepal and generally in South Asia, even when there is a very creative idea coming up from people and communities, the regulatory and the policy environment is not always conducive. And when there is a good product, good service coming up, the regulation can actually create a barrier. So I'm really curious to understand your approach to empower communities to engage with that kind of unfavorable policy environment. Thank you.
Yeah. We take the world as it is. We don't say the world has to fix itself before I can come in. We don't wait for that. We said we clean up the mess, whatever it is, ourselves. So we start the project. We suffer a lot, but we don't give up. There are problems, regulatory problems. We go through it. Even when these international companies, Danone and others come, they suffer through lots of these regulatory things. doesn't make sense why this regulatory thing come, but they follow the rules of the country. They cannot say, oh, okay, we don't accept this, your regulatory policies and so on. They don't say that. They adjust themselves to follow those things. So it's the same thing. Whatever exists, we go through, but we keep on advising them, talking to them how to improve the regulatory environment. But it's not easy to penetrate into their mind because the officials say it's not us, it's the policymakers who did that. We understand the problem here, but they don't listen. So they keep on doing whatever they're doing. So this is a way we take it as it is. We are not waiting for all these problems to disappear, and when it's all done, then I'll come and do my job. It doesn't work that way. You have to be there wherever it is, whichever way it is. That's where your starting point is. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Professor Yunus, again. It was incredible. And I'd like to say thank you to our major sponsors. And I'd like to say thanks to all of you for actually attending the event and making it a success. But I also would like to acknowledge the chairman of our two organisations, Asialink, Sid Meyer, and Peter Hart from Grameen. What's inspiring about both of them is they actually get in there and make a difference. And they actually put their money and their energy into projects that improve Australia and Asia engagement. Both of these organisations look over the back fence and say what it is to be a good neighbour and how can we create goodwill in our region, because we're actually a very privileged country. So thank you to both of you, and a final thank you to the people that put this on, which was Bernadine, who's looking beautiful over in her sari over there, Leanne Van Diemen, Michelle Sawyer, Natalie Cope and Peter Kurth. Without you, this wouldn't have happened, and so thank you to everyone, and thank you for attending.